Well, they gerrymandered all the highways to when they originally built them to get them to the downtown areas. You know, these tight downtown loops and everything else like that.
That was back when there was a downtown. Huh?
Yeah, which is incredibly unsafe. Kansas City has all sorts of accidents involving semis and people trying to get on and off a ramp when they're right next to each other. It's the answer and everything, and what we've created is this nightmare where people can't, communities are destroyed and people cannot relate to each other on a personal level.
And you get, if they've got the highway, your neighbor might be a block away, but you got to get in the car to get there because you don't dare walk across that highway. You get
Hopefully, architects and urban designers are rethinking that. There's this book I saw, and I wish I had gotten it at a surplus place. It talked about, showed a lot of pictures of friendly versus unfriendly environments. I walked through here, and I walked on this shoulder here, and it's not the safest thing in the world, but there are places where you can't walk because they're blind and there's no shoulders, so you end up walking in the roadway. I think it's actually illegal to walk on interstate highways.
Yeah. There's about that much of that culvert showing that.
Yeah, and they should not be. There shouldn't be anywhere that's illegal for pedestrians to go in America. That's to me is anti-American.
I got stopped for walking one day when they had 93 or whenever that flood was. I lived in Sugar Creek, and I thought I'm going to walk up the river and just see what it looks like. I got to walking up there, and the police come along and told me I couldn't go there. I'm walking down the middle of the highway, and there wasn't nobody there, and the road was blocked.
But yeah, if, I'd like to find out about that city, which city it was that took the
just a little
interstate away from downtown.
They have these, NPR has these things that run for 2 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what it was, one of those things.
And Kansas City here has the interstate that runs straight to downtown. And if you look at where the highways go, it was all the neighborhoods that were distressed and in decline, and the exact kind of neighborhoods you did not need to do that to. But I'm sure that real estate was cheap and they could do whatever they wanted, so they ran it right through those neighborhoods and avoided all the high dollar neighborhoods. You don't see an interstate highway through
Mission Hills
in Kansas City. But if you look at what would make the most sense for I-70, for it to have gone straight, like, you're wanted to come to Kansas City from St. Louis, but for it to have gone straight, it probably would have gone right through the Plaza and Mission Hills area, and it didn't happen. It zigzagged its way. It created two curves up here, southeast of downtown, that are most notorious for deadly accidents because they're too sharp.
Well, look, now they're talking about rebuilding it.
B-17 at the downtown airport.
Okay.
But yeah, they
I don't know who it is. W, it says.
I think that's the same one that comes here every year.
For an air show.
Getting ready for their air show that they have in August. Yeah, we're crossing over the Broadway Bridge off of 169 coming into downtown. When I was walking, this bridge was barely adequate. It had enough space. I walked on that side facing the traffic so I could see them coming at me. Yeah. And these people will come at you. The speed limit here is maximum 45, and they'll come on this bridge doing 70 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
They'll hit these curves up here, and Well, if there's something unexpected ahead, they're not ready for it.
That's like this one going north here. It says.
But this bridge at least has something you can. I see people walking across here all the time. It's not safe, but at least it has something. There are bridges that don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you really start to think about, what if my own 2 feet were the only way I could get around? They're just roadblocks that.
Yeah, and then you realize how these handicapped people must struggle just for the.
You think about a lot of things when you do
simple things of life.
You think about the homeless, you think about handicapped people, you think about everything. How restricted our freedom really is in this country by convenience, really. You know, people have their convenience, but they give up a lot of freedom to get that.
What bugs me is we have, even in
always a choke right here,
more or less city areas, you get there are streets that are you can't drive less than 45 mile an hour on. Even though it's a residential area, it's still one of the main arteries through the area or something.
Mm-hmm.
And or even a lot of the side streets, they want you to drive 35 on. Well, if you just want to you're learning to drive, you don't feel comfortable with these high speeds. There's nowhere you can drive at all.
Yeah, my parents took me and my sister to a park in Independence with some roads on it, and that's where we learned how to drive with our permit. And there were a couple of bypassed outer roads and things like that we drove on, until we got our confidence. And it's like, all right, get on the road, do this and that.
Some of these little towns like we go to here, a guy could go out there and wouldn't hit too much traffic. You could drive around, particularly on a Sunday afternoon or something like that. Used to be you could go to an industrial park, but most of them are running 7 days a week now, so that don't help you much.
By the late 60s, they had downtown completely surrounded by this ring road, or the loop. Many cities have a loop. They usually call it the loop. And they tore down quite a lot of real estate down here, and quite a lot of historic buildings and everything. Quite a few businesses were forced to move out and never recovered. And
we did the same thing with Power and White.
You pretty much isolated downtown, and as soon as they finished that loop, that's when downtown really just started declining completely. I mean, it did two things. It isolated downtown from the surrounding community, but it also made it easy for people to just come and go, without having to invest any time or live downtown or anything. They just left. And by the 1970s, downtown was in such bad decline that there was hardly anybody living down here except pimps and prostitutes and druggies and bums. And, downtown.
Black people couldn't afford to get out.
Well, not even that. Not even that. Not even the urban poor could live down here. There was only one real neighborhood left in downtown. It was on the west side. That was Quality Hill. And that used to be one of the richest neighborhoods in the city. And by the 60s and 70s, it declined so bad, it was the worst neighborhood in the city.
And they rebuilt it.
Yeah, that was on the west side of downtown.
It's back on its way down again. So the developer
the developer
is not doing his thing.
Yeah, well, he got his money and he left.
Yeah, and there's nobody doing any maintenance up there, apparently.
And I-70 is always under construction and is always a huge bottleneck. I mean, you wonder how good an idea it really was.
So I don't know. I hardly ever use I-70 anymore. And just because, since they started this mess here, it's been all summer. So I just been...
Ever since I've lived here, and we moved here in '78, it's rare to find it not under construction at one stretch or another. And, you know, a lot of people, the answer is, well, we'll just build more lanes, we'll, you know, tear down more people's property. And
you know what they need to do is...
Here's the bottleneck up here with one of the first of the two curbs that they actually gerrymandered this highway to get it downtown instead of making it go straight through the city.
What they need to do, though, is start right now, or should have started several years ago, planning and building a highway from either up by the airport or down here by Grandview somewhere and run to St. Louis, parallel to I-70.
From what I understand, the real answer is multiple modes of transportation.
Yeah. But it takes them 40 years to design and build a highway.
Well, that's because you've got these people running around yelling at it's socialism and this and that.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not socialism. It's the government doing what is actually chartered. It is actually chartered to do in the Constitution, which is promote the general welfare and.
Their job to save money, like this idiot,
and you know, to promote commerce and trade in the country. And highways. The problem is with transportation in this country is we put all our eggs in one basket. We've invested everything in highways, cars, and trucks. And the answer that I've read, all my reading and everything on it has said, is that the answer is multiple modes of transportation. Highways, secondary routes, mass transit, trains, commuter rail. You get people, many options to travel. Cheap, efficient, you know.
And even bicycles.
Cars are not the cheapest and most efficient. And many people argue that, well, it gives us the most freedom. In one way it does, but in another way it takes away our freedom because, you know, we have to pay through the nose for it. It's a very expensive form of freedom. And here's the second of the, I believe this is, one is the Benton curve and one is the Jackson curve. The one we just came through is the Jackson, I believe, and this is the Benton. And when I was taking driver's ed in high school, I always warned about these curves. A lot of people die here, they take them too fast, get into all this traffic congestion and bottlenecks because the car is trying to make it around these curves. And this is just simply because when they originally designed the highway, they were forced to send it downtown instead of just going straight west. It has to turn north, then it has to turn west again. Or in our case, it has to turn from going east, has to turn south and then back east. Even 40 highway, if you look at it. 40 highway basically went straight, turned into 31st Street. And I-70, for the most part, followed 40 highway until here. And you know, we're in the midst of this really bad construction. This is really hard to navigate for a lot of people. Imagine what it's like in a big truck. And it's constantly being repaired or under construction, especially along these curves. just can't tell me there's a real advantage to this. There's an advantage when you get out in the middle of nowhere, and you can take the highway at 70 or faster. Most people go faster, 70 miles an hour, and just get through all the nothing. But once you get into the metropolitan areas and stuff, like the dream way of getting into a big city like Chicago, Boston, New York is to just leave the car. Don't take the car, and take the mass transit system that they have. Get on the commuter rail and get on the subways and things like that.
That article on the radio there about doing away with the freeway, they're talking about doing that with one in New York. They're in that thing. They're or right around the Brooklyn Bridge or something. Wherever the Brooklyn Bridge is. Never been to New York, so I wouldn't know.
Get a load of that truck.
And when we do repair work too, we can,
that's a big truck. That's gas powered.
With a lot of trailer behind.
Yeah, I know.
He can haul his SUV with him.
Yeah. Anyway.
These businesses over in here, they just blew up that bridge, so you can't get here from Kansas City. Or
took
from
out the secondary route, which used to be the primary route, which is
so
Interstate or Highway 40.
There's several small businesses up in there. Hey, tough luck here. It's a dead end. You can't get to them.
Yeah. Oh well.
I guess.
So ends
the bar anyway. We're going to close it down.
Yeah. So ends the penny tour of Kansas City highways.